Welcome to The Marketing Behind Rapid Growth, the podcast where we explore the strategies, decisions, and growth engines behind some of the world's most successful technology companies. Today, we're talking about Patreon. Picture this. It's 2013. A musician named Jack Conte has just spent 3 months of his life and maxed out his credit cards, making an elaborate music video for his band, Pamplemousse. The song is called Petals. It's ambitious. It's beautiful. And it works. The video pulls in millions of views on YouTube, and Conte earns almost nothing for it. That gap between the size of the audience and the size of the paycheck is where our story begins, because that gap wasn't a fluke. It was the business model, and Jack Conte was about to turn his frustration with it into one of the defining platforms of the creator economy. Let's rewind for a second. By the early 2000s, Pamplemousse had built something real on YouTube. Millions of viewers, a loyal following. At their peak, the band was pulling in something like $400,000 a year, but the platform they depended on was volatile. Conte had already watched a YouTube algorithm change, scramble the channel's growth overnight, with no warning and no recourse. That was the moment the lesson crystallized for him. Creators don't own their audiences. They rent them. And the landlord is a tech company optimizing for advertiser-friendly watch time, not for the livelihood of the person making the content. If your income depends on fractions of a cent per view, Conte reasoned, the creative middle class doesn't have a future. So together with his Stanford friend and engineer Sam Yam, he set out to build something different. Not another platform competing for attention. A system that routed around the attention economy entirely. That system became Patreon. Today, it's a company valued at roughly $4 billion, and it has paid out more than $10 billion to creators. But the real story here isn't just what Patreon built. It's how the company aligned its product and its marketing so tightly that growth became almost self-generating. Let's dig into how that happened. Part 1. The opportunity. The death of the follower. To understand why Patreon worked, you have to understand what was happening underneath the entire social web. For years, platforms operated on what's called a follow graph. You follow a creator, you see their posts. Simple. Predictable, a reliable pipe from creator to audience. Then TikTok changed the rules. It introduced the interest graph, serving people content based on what held their attention, not who they'd chosen to follow. And every major platform raced to copy that model. Jack Conte had a phrase for what this meant. He called it the death of the follower. In this new world, a creator could have millions of subscribers and still reach only a fraction of them with any single post. The algorithm wasn't built for depth or loyalty. It was built for the short dopamine hit. For any creator trying to run an actual business, not just chase viral moments, that instability was existential. And it created a very specific kind of demand, a dependable direct line to the fans who mattered most. That's the opportunity Patreon walked into. Part 2. The product. From marketplace to creator CRM. Patreon's founding idea was really an old idea, updated for the internet. Patronage. Let superfans pay a creator a recurring monthly fee in exchange for exclusive work and closer access. And from day one, the business model aligned Patreon's incentives with its creators. The platform took a modest cut, historically somewhere between 5 and 12%. If creators didn't earn, Patreon didn't either. But getting to real product-market fit took a pivot, and it's a pivot worth sitting with, because it reveals something important about how Patreon thought about competition. In the beginning, Patreon imagined itself as a social marketplace. It had discovery features recommending new creators to patrons browsing the platform. It sounds reasonable, but it backfired. Creators were doing the hard work, driving their own fans to Patreon, only to have Patreon turn around and introduce those same fans to competing creators. The platform was undermining the very people who were fueling its growth. And there was a deeper problem. Patreon was never going to out-algorithm the giants. It couldn't out-discover YouTube or TikTok at their own game. So it made a strategic choice. Abandon the marketplace entirely and rebuild as software. Essentially, a back-end CRM for creators. The roadmap shifted toward utility, reducing credit card declines, automating email flows, and critically, building out a robust API. That API strategy turned out to be the moat. Patreon let creators extend their membership tiers everywhere across the web, gating articles on a WordPress blog, granting access to a private Discord server, adding sign-in with Patreon to their own standalone site. Patreon wasn't trying to be the destination. It was trying to be the plumbing underneath everything else. As the company matured, it grew through smart, targeted acquisitions. It picked up Kit in 2018 to handle merch fulfillment, a logistical headache most creators didn't want to manage themselves. It acquired Memberful, a white-label membership tool, to serve top-tier creators who wanted to keep fans on their own domain, not send them to a third party. And more recently, Patreon rolled out free membership tiers. Not as charity, as product-led growth. A low-risk way for creators to pull audiences off algorithmic feeds, capture email addresses, and build a funnel that could later convert into paying members. Every one of these moves points to the same underlying philosophy. Don't chase reach. Own the relationship. Part 3. The marketing. Engineering a cultural shift. Here's where the story gets really interesting, because Patreon's growth wasn't fueled by paid acquisition. It came from a tight feedback loop between the product itself and an organic, creator-led marketing engine. Think about how this worked mechanically. When a creator launched a Patreon page, they promoted it constantly, in videos, on social feeds, on podcasts, and because any creator's audience always contains aspiring creators of their own, every one of those promotional pushes they doubled as an acquisition channel for the next wave of users. Growth wasn't centralized. It was decentralized by design, spreading creator to creator, audience to audience. But there was also something less tangible happening. A cultural shift Patreon had to actively engineer. In the early days, asking for money online carried a certain stigma. It felt like digital panhandling. The default pitch was something like, "Support my journey," closer to charity than to commerce. Patreon worked deliberately to reframe that conversation. Away from donation, toward membership. Fans weren't giving money out of pity. They were paying for premium, exclusive access, a value exchange, not a handout. Over time, that reframing succeeded so completely that "subscribe to my Patreon" became an ordinary expected phrase across the internet, practically invisible as marketing because it had become the norm. In its later stage, Patreon leaned hard into founder-led content, treating Jack Conte himself as a marketing asset. Working with a creative agency, the company turned his long-form talks and podcast appearances into a steady stream of social-first video built around sharp storytelling and clear, actionable insight. The results were significant, tens of millions of views, and a sharp rise in Conte's following over about a year and a half. But the real value wasn't just the numbers. It was positioning. Conte became the leading public advocate for the creator economy, and by extension, Patreon became the philosophical answer to the algorithms squeezing creators dry. That's marketing operating on two levels at once, driving signups and shaping an entire industry narrative. Part 4. What operators can take from it. So what's the actual takeaway here if you're building or marketing a company of your own? First, don't fight where you can't win. Sell the shovels instead. Patreon recognized early that it could never beat YouTube or TikTok at algorithmic discovery, so it stopped trying. Instead, it became the economic engine running underneath those networks. Optimizing for retention and monetization rather than reach produced a far more defensible business. Second, high switching costs create real defensibility. Once a creator builds meaningful recurring revenue on Patreon, moving thousands of active card subscriptions to a competitor becomes a logistical nightmare, one that all but guarantees churn along the way. By owning the unglamorous backend, payments, integrations, infrastructure, Patreon made leaving practically irrational. Third, marketing can be product-led and mission-led simultaneously. Patreon's growth was baked into its users' own promotional habits. And Conte's advocacy tapped into something emotional, the commoditization of art by algorithms. Patreon wasn't really selling software, it was selling creative independence. Fourth, listen to the tension in the market and build for it. Advertising rewards scale and viral flukes. Patreon leaned the opposite direction, toward depth. Short-form video is great for discovery, but people rarely pay for it. Subscriptions work best for episodic, long-form work, where real parasocial bonds have time to form. Patreon tuned both its product and its message to that specific reality, rather than chasing the metrics everyone else was chasing. Conclusion. Patreon's journey from one musician's frustration to a multi-billion-dollar platform is really a study in alignment. The product directly addressed an existential threat its users were already living through. It offered creators a life raft amid algorithmic unpredictability. It traded the vanity metrics of the attention economy for something closer to an intention economy. And it married an API-driven product strategy to a fierce, creator-led narrative. The result wasn't just a piece of software, it became the scaffolding for a new creative middle class on the internet. And maybe the deepest lesson is this: the most durable growth usually comes from solving the problem your users can't solve on their own. This was the marketing behind rapid growth. See you in the next episode.